a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas. We have wild guests, and we have wonderful guests, and we have all kinds of interesting things to happen. Today, I'm going to start this communication with a brief little prayer. I will be reading a lot of information which I have gathered from around the internet, and also some of which was sent to me by a friend and colleague by the name of Jeff. Okay, so let me say that real quickly. Beloved Source, Infinite Creator, and Guides of the Light Web, we thank you for the courage for helping humanity to remember. We thank you for the hearts awakening right now across this earth. May this broadcast be a beacon to the souls who are ready. May those who feel alone know they are surrounded in love. May we walk forward in peace, in power, and purpose. And may the re-inhabited constitutional republic rise again, guided not only by law, but also by love. So be it. Thank you. Now, today, I'm going to be covering a number of things, and I'll touch upon touching upon the largest industry in the world, which may surprise you to know it's $150 billion human trafficking, slavery industry. And this is just unbelievable. Approximately 8 million children disappear each year. Most are taken underground into tunnels or chambers, or what are known as deep underground bases or domes. They are dome. Anyway, Trump started saving the children in 2019. If you have a problem with Trump, I would like to know who else you've known as a past president or leader of any sort who has ever done anything to help the children that are trafficked and missing every year around this entire planet. You really need to think about that. Nobody's perfect. Nobody is wonderful about every little thing, and you don't have to agree with every little thing. But the most important thing for the saving of our species is to protect and take care of our children around the planet. So let's keep that in mind. So we have a number of things to talk about. Some of the things to remember. I'm just going to read headlines for a few of these things, and I'll tell you many of them come from the Hal Turner radio, different presenters on Telegram, and so on. So let's get going on that. The final countdown: the U.S. prepares for war with China allies ordered to declare combat royals. Now, here's another thing I have to put out. This is a disclaimer for entertainment purposes only, so that this is not taken down, and you can get the information as well. So I don't think there's not going to be a war with China, but it could be the scare event that's coming up that they talk about all the time. And we still haven't seen just yet, at least, unless we consider the pandemic was a bit of a scare event. And then in that, I took out an awful lot of people, and it still is to this day. And there's going to be a lot of repercussions for companies who required their employees to do this. Some people quit, but people who had large families, that's a very difficult decision. They might rather take their chances than have their family end up on the streets as a result of no way to support themselves. And it's my understanding that all the military that did quit, Trump has ordered that they are able to return and back pay be reinstated and have back pay as well. So that's also important. Okay, now we have, again, some of these are just headlines. Iran ready for war with Israel, will not halt nuclear program. Okay, an interview with Al Jazeera, Iran's president insists Tehran's uranium enrichment program will continue. President of Israeli Knesset tells AIPAC, we may have to attack Iran again. These guys are warmongers, I swear. That's all they want to do is go to war. The president of Israel's Knesset met with senior members of AIPAC in his office today and gave them their talking points to lobby the U.S. again. Israel may have to attack Iran again. And then they want money from America. I do not, as a woman in this country, support any kind of war whatsoever. It's these warmongers, it's all about money, making more money, and they don't care about the lives that they take in the process. And that's what they should have to be, the ones that get out there on the front lines and be the ones that are do the fighting. Then you see that all stop rather quickly. Hi, Tim, and hi, Wide Awake, and anyone else who has joined this show and this broadcast. Okay, the mask comes off. Israeli Knesset, I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly, receives plan to expel Palestinians, move 1.2 million Jews into Gaza. That is insane. They want to settle Gaza with Israelis. It was presented in the Israeli Knesset, or however you say that. It includes, I don't even want to go into that anymore, but Israeli Minister Knesset said not 1 gram of aid. Gaza must be leveled to the ground. That's, and then he also said this. Believe this. This is hard to believe. Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben Gvir said today, we will not allow a single gram of aid into the Gaza Strip until its people kneel and beg. Gaza must be leveled to the ground. There is no such thing as innocent people. Yeah, they're the ones that are the guilty parties. Isn't that typical? The ones that are pointing the finger are usually ones with 4 other fingers pointing back at them. It's terrible. China warns on Gaza's starvation. U.S. has lost legitimacy by supporting genocide. The president of China this morning has delivered a warning to both the U.S. and Europe. I don't know how we can support them in any manner, shape, or form. It's just wrong. Tim is saying that many Iranians are giving up Islam and becoming Christian. Well, that would be a good thing. Just turning to the infinite source of the universe is what everyone needs to do right now. UK, Canada, and 23 other countries say the war in Gaza must end now. A joint statement by 25 countries, including Britain, Japan, and Canada, is calling for an immediate end to the war in Gaza. They say that the 21-month war must end now, and I couldn't agree with them more. I'm waiting for some countries to step up, and it should be our country for that matter, but and stop providing aid there. It's unbelievable. Israeli soldiers arrested in Belgium after war crimes complaint by rights groups. Legal action groups hail arrest of 2 soldiers as breakthrough in accountability efforts for Gaza atrocities. U.S. approves another $172 million in Ukraine weapons aid. In a shameful and poorly thought out decision, the United States has approved another $172 million in weapons sales to Ukraine. This will provide the Hawk Phase 3 air defense missile system to Ukraine. I, as a citizen, I hate to use that word, of the United States. I'm against it as part of We the People. I'm against that. I'm against giving them any aid whatsoever. That is one of the biggest money laundering, evil regime there is in the country. And there's a reason why they want to keep it going, because of some very big, rich people that use it for money laundering and child trafficking and so on. But it's all coming out. They're not going to be able to hold this out forever. Too much is coming out too fast. So, breaking news, Ukraine is attacking Moscow with drones. Ukraine has launched what is being described as a massive drone attack against Russia, including Moscow. Now, all this information is from pretty much from the last 2 weeks. I don't know if that's still continuing, but they just will not leave Russia alone. Russia. It's sickening. First they used Russia against Trump. Now they're using Ukraine is attacking Russia. Why? Ukraine used to be part of Russia. And it's just amazing to me how Russia is a scapegoat for everything, it seems, and it's just wrong. Ukraine attacked Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Several hours ago, Ukraine forces launched attacks against the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in the former part of Ukraine, now seceded, which joined Russia. I'm sorry I can't pronounce some of these names, no matter how I look at them. I just can't figure out how you say it correctly, so forgive me about that. The German Chancellor Merz, long-range missiles for deep strikes into Russia coming within weeks. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz tells Politico that deep strikes into Russia with long-range missiles are coming soon. This is just ridiculous. And again, be sure to read the disclaimer. This is for entertainment purposes, and some will be educational, but a lot of it's entertainment, because we don't even know if this is really happening. It's all CGI, if this is all psyops of different kinds. All I can do is tell you what the headlines, what they say, whether it's absolutely true or not. That much I can't say, because some of it just isn't. So anyway, moving right along. NATO military exercise in Georgia this week, directly on Russia's southern border. That's not Georgia in our country here, but that's over in Europe. NATO will hold a major exercise 2 days from now in the country of Georgia. I didn't even know there was a country named Georgia, but there is. Directly on Russia's southern border. The Kremlin says Putin open to peace with Ukraine only after Russia's goals have been achieved. Russia is open to peace with Ukraine, but achieving its goals remains a priority. U.S. President Donald Trump gave Moscow a 50-day deadline to agree to ceasefire or face tougher sanctions. I don't know why we give Russia a hard time. It makes no sense to me at all. They are not doing it. If we did some of the things that have been being done to Russia, there would be an absolute uproar here. Okay. Russia and Ukraine conclude the third round of talks in Istanbul, and it lasted about 40 minutes. Now, this is an article by Cat is the C3. She puts out a lot of good stuff, and so let me read through this. The best explanation of the Fed, in my opinion, is by Edward Griffin, who wrote the book The Creature from Jekyll Island. I really agree with this. In November 1910, 6 men, Nelson Aldrich, A. Piet Andrew, Henry Davidson, Frank Vanderlip, Benjamin Strong, and Paul Warburg met at the Jekyll Island Club off the coast of Georgia to draft a plan to re-architect the nation's banking system. Edward Griffin, this is his quote. I came to the conclusion that the Federal Reserve System does not need to be audited. It needs to be abolished. If they audit the Federal Reserve System, they would find out it's one of the greatest scams of all history. It is the supreme instrument of usury. It generates most unfair tax. It encourages war. It destabilizes the economy. It is an instrument of totalitarian control. Benny Johnson, Breaking, PBS, NPR, USAID have all been officially defunded by the House and the Senate. Okay, this is Q the Storm Rider. These are from the Telegram channel. The Bank of International Settlements was created by the globalist operations in Switzerland, South Germany, Rothschild families. That's where trillions of dollars disappear every year. That can move $21 trillion from black budgets and country to country with their money laundering systems. This is connected to the Vatican and the Jesuits who created the Vietnam War, which was a drug trade system to capture the heroin ops. The Bureau of International Settlements set up ops in Hong Kong, London, Switzerland, South and Central America drug trade, and Mexico. Asian drug trade, Hong Kong, Europe drug trade, London. This is a huge, gigantic money laundering operation of how deep state military ops are starting color revolutions. When the CIA starts revolutions in all these countries, it's connected to, wait for it, U.S. aid. Unbelievable. Federal Chair Powell criminally referred to DOJ for perjury. Representative Anna Paulina Luna, Republican from Florida, refers Powell for criminal charges, accusing him of 2 specific instances of lying under oath. Scott Bessent calls for the probe into the entire Federal Reserve institution. I agree with George Griffin. Just abolish the whole damn thing. It ain't worth wasting time and energy auditing it. It's a private corporation. Get rid of it. Okay? Warren Buffett has sold off a lot of stock and positions in several major banks. BlackRock lost a $52 billion client who removed all of its assets from their management. The U.S. sent $2.7 trillion, that's with a T, in Medicare and Medicaid funds overseas to ineligible recipients. But they can't pay to help Americans over here, and they take it out of their Social Security, and they do all kinds of things. That's 8% of the America's debt. And that is not the people's debt. That's the U.S. corporation debt. We need to keep that straight, and that all needs to change. And that's why we want the constitutional republic back. And please avoid ever using the word democracy. That is the last thing that you want. Democracy always ends up in the most horrific conditions, poverty, and enslavement. So don't be fooled by that word. And somehow they have managed to program it into society. Trump's executive order to open up retirement funds to crypto. Zero hedge on long enough time, the survival rate for everything drops to zero. Whether that they have, they have to be aware. Obviously, every political leader out there, including Trump, has clones or masked people, or it's CGI, and that is very important to know that. I don't think that would be the real Trump, if we really know who that is. I mean, there are so many rumors out there about Trump. One is that he died in 1989. Another is that he died and was replaced, and was asked by the military to fulfill a certain role. Hopefully, at some time in the future, we will find out what the real story is on that. Either way, the most important thing, and we must never forget it, is protection and rescuing of children. That is the most important thing. Everybody is kind of focused on, or tends to focus on, the changes in finances, But that's, if there's no future, what good do finances do? In more advanced societies, they don't even have money, so that's a whole nother idea. So here's another soft disclosure, a coded announcement, and this is from the internet also. Layer 1, tariffs fund the republic, not the corporation. U.S. corporation is not funding the republic at all. They've been stealing, robbing us blind for eons, okay? Tariffs, not income taxes, were used to finance the federal government in the original republic prior to 1871, when they passed that Organic Act, which wasn't organic at all. Funny how they name stuff and make it sound like it's a good thing, and it's not a good thing. But anyway, Trump's tariffs signify a return to constitutional commerce and a reversal. His statement that you're getting a lot of money is a clue that the central bank and other foreign actors are no longer stealing this incoming revenue. Layer 2. This is directly connected to NESARA. Let's link it to NESARA. The National Economic Security and Reformation Act, or NESARA, requires the following: forgiveness of debt, dismantling of the Fed and the IRS. What is Trump doing right now? He's dismantling the IRS. A redistribution of wealth, recovery of stolen assets, restoration of sovereignty, return to constitutional law instead of all these statutes and codes which are simply color of law, and they're used to punish Americans with fees, fines, taxes, you name it. We don't want that. That's on the way out. The Treasury-backed currency will be backed by assets. One of the main NESARA pillars is the flow of tariffs into the U.S. Treasury rather than the corporate cabal system. Trump is aware of it. Okay. Therefore, it's possible that Trump's remarks regarding the August 1st payments will serve as a springboard for NESARA activation, particularly if tariff revenue is diverted to support universal benefits. Soon, after the public introduction of gold-backed U.S. notes, the fiat system collapses or is exposed. And see, and then we have a Trump out there that's saying he's trying to save the dollar. That's not the real Trump, even if we don't know for sure who the real Trump is. But anyway, I'm moving right along. Returning the nation to the people. On January 20th, 2017, Trump stated, "We are not just handing over power from one administration to another today. We are returning power to you, the people, from Washington, D.C." It wasn't a metaphor. He was announcing the beginning of a multi-year operation to dismantle the deep state power structure, restore America to its original constitutional form of government, and place the people in charge of the government, not the other way around. You're entirely correct. They enslaved us after flipping the script. However, the script is currently being reversed. And perhaps the best part of this is, we the people are coming, so it's going to come back to haunt them. In real time, this is the Great Awakening, the transformation of protests into movements, the recovery of land and rights by a sovereign citizen. Well, even though that's an oxymoron, it can be sovereign and a citizen at the same time, but that's a whole nother story. We won't go into that. The transition of communities into parallel systems, the rejection of lies, fiats, poisons, and programming, and the rise of Christ consciousness, not just in theory, in motion. And this is what will make all the difference in the world. The return of Christ is the return of Christ consciousness in your heart. And please be aware of that. There may be more to August 1st than just tariff enforcement. It could be a turning point when money moves from the globalists to the patriots. NESARA mechanisms start to subtly come into play. The public sees what has always been promised. So hopefully all this will turn from promises, hearsay, and lies to truth and promises kept. So, okay, this next one is again another one by Cat is the C3 from Telegram. I forgot to mention that President CIC Trump wore a gold tie in the Oval Office today when he met with President of the Philippines and raked Obama over the coals. Yes, there's be a lot coming forward on that. A real traitor to our country. Behind the scenes, POTUS, Q-Team, Elon, United States Space Force are bringing in a new financial system, and we have a Googleplex of gold to back it up. I don't know what a Google, well, anyway. POTUS also made history deals today with Indonesia and Japan, as well as the Philippines. Now, this is from Mr. Poole on the internet. Breaking news. NESARA does the Great Reset. 30 plus 1 bombshell protocols are out. They didn't want you to see this. 31 secret operations that will break the deep state's financial grip and crush the global elite. It is not coming. It's already here. The old world is coming to an end. And what is about the reset? It's made for the military. Boom, number 1. All debt is forgiven. Your mortgage, loans, and credit card debts are all gone. The system that was made to enslave is being taken down. If you're still receiving that, they will continue to try to operate in the manner that they always have. Don't fall for it. Boom, number 2. The IRS is basically gone. It's finished and is born out of fraud and theft. Income tax, gone. You keep what you have worked for. Boom, 3. The Federal Reserve is gone. The bank in the dark, canceled. The new rainbow currency, which is backed by gold, silver, and platinum, is taking over. The law of the land is back. Boom, number 4. No more courts for businesses. People who are traitors and have 2 citizenships taken off and sent back. No more Congress people with a dual citizenship with Israel. There's a big reason for that, and it's related to pedophilia. And that's another story. I don't know if I'll get into it on this one, but anyway. Boom, number 5, 120 days until the next election. The swamp's rigged voting system is on fire. QFS, secured blockchain voting, is ready to go. It's not been rolled out at this time, but it's ready to go. And also, boom, number 6, the return of financial privacy. Your money is yours. No more watching, no more Big Brother. Boom, number 7, 6,000 patents that had been kept secret were made public. It says they were made public, so you should be able to find them out there with doing some research. Energy that doesn't cost anything, cures that work like magic, tech that was hidden is now out in the open. Secrets that have been kept for years are now out in the open. Boom. Funded humanitarian projects. Trillions are ready to start over. Homes, health, learning for the people, by the people. Boom, number 9. Restitution and redemption. They stole from us for years, and now they have to pay. Zim bonds, currency exchanges, and reparations are all coming out. Boom, number 10. The XRPL QFS 5D voting system is now on. Only people who are part of NESARA can vote. No cheating, no voters who are dead, no more corrupt governments. And +1, the last nail, the reset is military. This isn't about politics. This is a war. This is where NESARA Gaza is fought. Every provision is a weapon that will hurt the cabal. Every protocol is carefully planned to bring down the old world and give birth to the new. This has not changed. This is the storm. The 30+1 protocols are now active and nothing can stop what's coming. We've heard that so many times, and it's happening. I know some of you aren't seeing it, and some are saying, okay, come on, all this isn't real. Trump just signed into law. Homeless is deemed mentally ill and will be picked up. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to discuss that a little later on. That was very disturbing to me as well. It's like we don't want to see this, so let's brush it to the side. I think that's where the humanitarian projects are set up and ready to go to help. I mean, housing first, as far as I'm concerned. You can't just put somebody in a mental institution because they were homeless. You don't know their story. You don't know what happened to them. You don't know. There are plenty of people out there who don't have any family, and then there's people that say, "Oh, they burned their bridges." Oh, baloney! There are people that just don't have family, or if they do have family, their family's got their hands full. They can't handle anymore. Alchemist, I hear your voice. I voted for Trump, but something has shifted and not for good. It's going to turn around for good. Please have faith. It's coming. Good things are coming. But it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. Remember, it's more about the children than anything else. And the children are being rescued and saved. And that's a fact. Okay? Okay, here's another cue the storm rider. Yeah, there is a good and bad Trump, Tim. We don't know how many good Trumps and how many bad Trumps because there's probably a half a dozen Trumps, just like there used to be a half a dozen Obamas or Obamas. So anyway, and that's where your discernment comes in. Like if he's making a statement that's totally juxtaposed to things that he said in the past, he's either setting somebody up or it's not the real Trump. It's the fake or cabal Trump. So anyway, this is from Q, the Storm Rider. Not everything is as it seems. Now that's an understatement if I ever heard one. Staging events, guiding the public to understand the full coup, all connected to bringing in the new financial system. This is what you have to realize, that this is what's killed past presidents. Lincoln tried to bring in a silver certificate. He got shot and killed. President Kennedy, he was going to bring in silver certificates too. They were, he was killed for that reason too. It's the financial control by the cabal is what has to go in order for people to have any degree of freedom. Keep that in mind. Okay. The FBI directly connected to Epstein, Maxwell, Mossad trafficking, blackmail, pedo ops, national security disaster. Trump, Epstein cover-up is connected to the big, beautiful bill on new future financial system, the timeline. You are watching the destruction of the old guard, of the CIA, the FBI, and Planeteer Ops. And that's a software program. I had to look that one up. I didn't know what that was. Anyway, moving right along. Peace, military operations connected to making America the wealthiest country in the world. 120 trillion in resources under the U.S. and funding the U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund. Wow. I mean, that is so many pages of zero. It's unbelievable. Anyway, behind the scenes, real living light, angels, intelligence, wormholes, plasma energy, computers are guarding and guiding the military operations. There's a living light computer, believe it or not. And that's who's guiding our military. And that's why we're winning. Okay. And of course, they're fighting back. But this time we got it. Everything you're witnessing in the Great Awakening movement is to stabilize the world away from wars and bring in the advanced technology which is capable of doing miraculous things. Now, on this order that directs cities and states to dismantle homeless encampments put out by Trump is concerning. It instructs Attorney General Pam Bondi to attempt reversing court rulings and consent decrees that currently inhibit forced removal and involuntary civil commitment. Now, I can understand why you don't want, the sidewalks filled with tents and people that are living on sidewalks, and God only knows where they go to the bathroom and so on and so forth. But I can see there's got to be grant funding in place from different federal agencies will favor jurisdiction that enforces bans against camping, loitering, drug use while defunding harm reduction initiatives like supervised use sites. How that's going to work, I don't have any idea, but I also, it concerns me, it's like trying to sweep something under the rug as if it doesn't exist. It does exist, but all these people need to be processed and set up because they would, if they're American born and bred, they will be getting some of these reparations back, and they won't have all these financial problems which put them on the streets in the first place. So, because the approach, from what it sounds like, it criminalizes homelessness and mental health issues, pushing punitive enforcement over compassion. And I'm not really happy about that. So there's more to find out about that. And critics argue the policy is unethical, illegal, and historically reminiscent of institutional abuse, disproportionately affecting marginalized groups. Sweeping encampments disrupts healthcare continuity, confiscates medications and belonging, and breaks trust between outreach and unhoused communities. Often results in higher mortality and deeper instability for those displaced, not to mention the psychological ramifications as well. So there's got to be buildings, there's got to be places. Do you know there's millions of vacant houses in the United States? Millions. Now, why is that? Why can't there be places made for people to stay? It certainly can be done. And this is where humanitarian projects can come forward and bring the concerns forward so that people aren't treated like they're some kind of criminal just because they ended up homeless. You don't know what their story is. Nobody knows what their story is until you've been able to talk to them. I have people tell me, oh, some of the homeless just want to stay on the streets. They like it there. They prefer it that way. I don't think so. The only reason they would prefer it is because they don't have to pay, because of the stress of having to pay stuff that they can't pay and then getting kicked out and so on. It's just a problem. Okay. Alchemist is saying, I'm going to bring this up because it is concerning and I know what you're concerned with. You're right. New financial system is right. Just took over the petty. Other currency is being set up for elimination. Not being negative, but he or whoever is setting us up for digital system. Digital system is very concerning, but we also have the rainbow currency. That's not digital. There may be a certain amount of digital necessary. I mean, how do you pay your bills now? I mean, how do you pay for something now? We're going to have some form of digital. We just don't want it all controlling, because that's when the problem comes in. If that's the only thing that you have, then you don't have cash anymore, and that's where the problem comes in. Okay. What executive order treats unhoused neighbors as criminals. Housing First treats them as community members in crisis, and I agree with that. Faith and Dignity calls us to offer dignity, restoration, and presence, not punishment. We need community-centered responses that support vulnerability with love, not coerce it into institutionalized settings. That's a problem too. Well, Alchemist, there are people saying that we're going to transition before the money even hits the situation, and when we transition, if we transition or when we transition into the fifth dimension, you don't need money anymore. Everything is, you can manifest it. The technology will cover just about all of your needs, and that's something to think of about too. See, we're not given all the answers. We're given a certain amount of information that they think the people can handle. I think people can handle a lot more than what they say, but they don't seem to think that that's to be true. So we shall see how that goes forward. Um, Here's another thing of interest, and this was written by Anna von Reitz. She is saying that the DOJ is a department, or the Department of Justice is DOJ. It's a private organization, a subcontractor hired by the British territorial U.S. government during the Belle Epoque era under the auspices of the Scottish interloper, merely calling itself the United States of America Incorporated. That's what we're getting away from. So, in other words, our British territorial subcontractors, acting in breach of trust and conflict of interest, accessed our credit by using similar names and their own positions as subcontractors to impersonate us. Then they used our money to hire a group of bar attorneys to protect them from us. They called this in-house attorney firm the Department of Justice. And later, its municipal government side was called the DOJ. Most people assume that DOJ is an abbreviation for Department of Justice, but it's not. It's code for municipal versus territorial personnel and functions. But whether it's DOJ or Department of Justice, their fundamental role and job is the same. Black jacket for the incorporated federal government operations in this country. I'll go a little more on this for a little better understanding. This is still a private attorney firm and deserves no public respect, and certainly only by rare accident or commonality of a goal do they render anything like public service. With this information firmly in mind concerning the nature and role of the DOJ and Department of Justice, both and either, consider all the reasons why Pam Bondi might be at odds with Dan Bongino, Deputy Director of the FBI. The FBI is a hired law enforcement agency, and it's a euphemism for slave catcher. Never forget that. That's what law enforcement used to stand for. I kid you not. Look it up if you don't believe me. Traditionally, it covered international law enforcement within the United States. Things like counterfeiting, smuggling, interstate kidnapping, interstate bank fraud, alcohol bootleggers, interstate racketeering and extortion, money laundering, etc. Everyone remembers Elliot Ness and Al Capone. Still, it is an open question who ultimately captured whom. They got Capone, and when they did, they also got his bookkeeper, Fast Eddie O'Hare, who created the funky double entry bookkeeping system that the federal government uses to this day. So the criminals won in the end by corrupting the heroes, and nothing has changed since then. The same phenomenon plays out. Why wouldn't Bondi release the Epstein files and continue prosecution? Obviously, two reasons. She has an obligation to protect the president and all his entourage. High-ranking political allies and donors could be exposed. And second, she sees an opportunity to blackmail the blackmailers, which equals political black gold. Why would Dan Bongino resist this with his soul and blood? Because he sees her cupidity concerning the blackmail material as a gross betrayal of the promises made to the American people and to the cause of justice itself. We're with Dan Bongino. If anyone was on Epstein Island molesting children. They need to be exposed and arrested and brought to justice. And the blackmail material needs to be debased and released, not hoarded up and used to blackmail other unsavory kingpins. Well, now, remember, this is written by Anna von Ritz. All of this talk of look at what's happened to Diddy and Maxwell. Basically, not much. Uh, they get away with it still, and because the court system itself is so corrupt, it's pathetic. All that Pam Body could do with this material is become a blackmailer herself, which would not further the cause of justice in America or anywhere else. It's like that moment when Frodo seizes the King of Power in the Lord of the Rings series. Pam Bondi sees her moment to seize upon 50 years worth of yummy on one side and damning on the other side, blackmail goodies, and she can't let go. Any clients of hers that have bared their butts on Epstein Island deserve what they get in court, and her obligation as the attorney begins and ends when they break the law. But our court systems are so corrupt, so I don't see how that's going to work. I really don't. Okay, I will put this up there, Alchemist. Looking at what's happening without being on the red or blue side, which is division, divide and conquer, and seeing everything energetically, things are being stirred up, not because Trump is good. It's so we can come together as a whole. He's disrupting a bad system, and that's good. That part of it is good. So I understand where you're coming from, but you got to see the good as well as the bad. He was also, as I understand it, and I can't say I verified this, so you'd have to verify it yourself. And that is that, but I've heard and been told and read that he was an undercover agent for the FBI at one time, and for actually getting the information needed to be able to know what he knows now. So whether that's true or not, I can't say. But what kind of person would be able to fill those shoes right now? They can't bribe him. He doesn't need their money. Okay, that's big right there. So anyway, back to Anna von Ritz's summary here. And Pam Bondi sees, okay, okay. The truth in this world often needs a spokesman like Dan Bongino, who hasn't devoted his life to law enforcement only to see an attorney general break the law and engage in obstruction of justice. Well, I'm going to have to say, we have problems with law enforcement too, because so much of law enforcement operated on the color of law with statutes and codes, which was never constitutional to begin with. So that's a whole nother gray area that comes up. The tiebreaker has to be Donald Trump. He's a customer, after all, the head of the corporation that employs the Department of Justice Incorporated. Again, another business. You have to understand that. These are all private businesses that we were never told were businesses. Okay? It's his morality or lack of being put to the test, and that will ultimately cast the die for the entire MAGA movement in this country. Our view of it all and the politics involved remains the same. In terms of economics and business and overall administration, Donald Trump's administration is the lesser of two evils. They, at least, more or less, understand what their contract says. In terms of fascist surveillance, state spending, gross pro-Israel bias and spending, lack of moral fortitude and decency to the end, the carpet bombing and genocide in Gaza, failure to quickly recognize and counter DARPA's treasonous activities and those of Frankfurt, Mossad-influenced CIA, and now this failure to prosecute the Epstein issues means that Trump administration can be severely criticized and the entire MAGA movement stands betrayed and discredited. I don't know if it's that bad, but I see where she's coming from. No doubt this is why Elon Musk withdrew his support from inside the swamp. And that's Elon Musk 2.0 too. So I'm so tired of this central casting that we hear about all the time. Nobody is who we think they are. They got people playing these parts, actors, while we sit and wonder what the heck's going on. Okay, this notice, let me go back. From inside the swamp, all the quid pro quos being made among the swamp creatures, officially known as denizens, become apparent. The actual collusion between the supposed enemies surfaces, and at some point, the uneasy sense of unreality provokes the impulse to run away quickly. Okay, this notice is issued for public education purposes so that people are not confused when they see their Justice Department morph into something foreign and unsavory. Again, this is Anna von Ritz saying this. Simply realize that it is never your Justice Department and was always an instrument, not of justice, but of injustice, deliberately engaged to defend indefensible government, prosecutions, and protect the interests of the foreign corporations engaged in commandeering our actual government. Since 1871, we have not been a free country. We were made to think that it was the land of the free and home of the brave. No, it was the land of the slaves and home of whatever. There's probably a rhyme there somewhere, but I can't think of it right now. So it's very disturbing what has happened in our country over the years because we as a people were asleep. And now that we know what's going on, and what has been going on, we really need to get involved because it doesn't just start at the top level. It goes to from the federal government down to the state government down to the cities and municipalities. I mean, it's the whole shebang. Everything's a business. Everything's set up for profit, not for the good of the people. That's the real problem. As such, again, back to Anna, none of these attorney generals have any lawful or authorized power. There is no war, only endless mercenary conflicts engendered by crooks to benefit themselves. No lawful martial law can be applied by these generals, so they are reduced to following the orders of a president of a commercial corporation. And it is all 100% based on deceit, fraud, and deception under, wait for it, color of law. Wake up, America. See what you'll see. You can't ever be great, much less great again, by licking the feet of criminals, stealing their blackmail slashes, and adopting their accounting systems. Again, this is Anna. Expecting the DOJ to do the right thing is considerably more naive than expecting Al Capone to do the right thing, a fact that Dan Bongino just discovered and has brought forward for the awareness of everyone else. Even people don't realize this, but even the cops are basically mercenaries. They don't know it, but they're actually operating under the color of law like everything else. So it's not good. The only difference now, you know why Bongino's expectations of Pam Bondi and perhaps of Donald Trump were naive. Even after all his years in law enforcement and a vocal critic of governmental services operations in the past, watch the water indeed and see which side of the argument Donald Trump comes out on. The Pam Bondi side, which is the side of the British handlers, or Dan Bongino's side, which is the side of the American MAGA supporters. Donald Trump is fond of using us, the public, as his excuse for doing unsavory and unpopular things, like giving Israel billions of dollars in public funding that is needed in this country first. Did we hear something about America first somewhere and telling Vladimir Putin that the public demanded Trump's action, giving Ukraine more weapons through NATO? Wow. No actual public demanded that. So we are as amazed and disgusted as everyone else. Now, he always said he's saving Israel for last. So, we'll see how that turns out. Because when you look at Israel, we have a lot of Christian churches that think that this is the original Israel, and it's not. And here's an article by Joe Tuzara, and I'll only read little bits and pieces of it, but you can find this at the Tuzara Post. That's Tuzarapoft. Exposing pedophilia and legal failures in Israel. The shocking crime revelations inside ultra-Orthodox Jewish sect. Full documentary. Israel declared sex offender paradise as a government protects law granting pedophiles safe haven. And I can tell you, I've talked in our country, and I'm waiting for DOJ to investigate the Department of Corrections and the Federal Bureau of Prisons for money laundering, abuse, and so on as well. They haven't looked at that yet, and that's because that's all been orchestrated in fraud as well. So that's a whole nother thing. And I've been told by people who have had experience in there that they are actually give more favor to the people that are in there for pedophilia or for assaulting children than they do the other inmates. Now I find that totally disgusting. Like they get to play Xbox and certain things that aren't granted to other inmates, many of which shouldn't be there in the first place. Attorneys, just like Sidney Paul says, have a license to lie. And that includes the judges. So bear that in mind. Okay, so again, back to the article by the Joe Tuzara, MD. Oops, sorry. He is talking about offenders exploit Israel's law of return to evade consequences. So what he's saying, failures in Israel's legal system, particularly around pedophilia, expose deep-rooted justice and accountability issues affecting society. Offenders exploit Israel's law of return to evade consequences, with high-profile cases like Malka Lifner's, highlighting extradition and legal obstacles. Despite minor reforms, stronger legal measures and international corporations are needed to address these challenges effectively. Criminal exploitation of Israel's citizenship law. Many accused American pedophiles, listen to this, have fled to Israel, taking advantage of the law of return, which grants automatic citizenship to Jewish individuals and their families with minimal barriers. This is how the pedophilia elite take care of themselves, through the so-called justice system that has nothing to do with any kind of real justice. Jewish Community Watch, an American organization tracking these individuals, have been working to bring them to justice since 2014. They report over 60 suspects fleeing from the U.S. to Israel, though they believe the actual number is higher due to limited resources. In addition to the above statistics, the Matzov Association, which monitors pedophilia in Israel, estimates that tens of thousands of offenders operate each year, affecting around 100,000 victims annually. So what is Israel the capital of pedophilia? And we have all of the churches defending Israel's genocide on Gaza and willingness to fund Ukraine? None of this makes any sense to me at all, especially if we're trying to save the children. Maybe this is why Israel is being saved for last. It's really very disturbing. Let's see where else we have. In July 2020 alone, 22 pedophilia cases in Israel were reported to the media. Again, this is Dr. Tuzara who wrote this article. Israel signed the optional protocol on the sale of children, child prostitution, and child pornography on the 14th of November in 2001 and subsequently ratified it on July 23rd, 2008. So this protocol is one of the 3 optional protocols to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which Israel ratified in 1991, aimed at protecting all children, including those in the Palestinian territory, from exploitation and abuse. Well, I don't think that's happening right now. Although some steps have been taken, there is a critical need for further measures to safeguard young children. Way more measures. And people, Americans, need to wake up to the fact how many children in this country alone go missing every year. 800,000. Around the planet, 8 million. So, and then I saw this little video clip of someone grabbing a child, putting their hand over his mouth, and running into an alley. And there was at least 4 or 5 people around in the immediate area. Not one person followed him in. Not one. So that's pretty disgusting. And yeah, here's another good comment. I'll bring that up. Mary Finney. Remember the tunnels they found in the Jewish community just a few months ago? Yeah. The mattresses and children clothing, and there was blood on the mattresses as well. Think about it. Okay. High profile, back to Dr. Tuzara. I hope that's how you say his name correctly, because he wrote some very good articles. High-profile fugitives in Israel. A prominent case is that of Malka Leifer, former principal of the Jewish religious schools in Melbourne, who fled to Israel after allegations of sexually abusing more than 70 students. For 7 years, he evaded extradition to Australia by claiming mental illness. This specific case highlights how Israeli medical, legal, and political figures work to prevent his extradition. Medical reports were falsified, and the Israeli health minister was involved in obstructing the process. The investigators used over 200 hours of covert footage to counter claims of his mental incapacity, showing her engaging in daily activities and disapproving her defense. The evidence led to her rearrest and eventual extradition to Australia in 2021. Another notable case was Thomas Zeran, the former head of Mexico's criminal investigation agency, who was wanted for his role in the 2014 disappearance of 43 students and allegations of torture. Here we have these people that are in these high positions that you think are do-gooders, and it's just the opposite. They're a very big part of the problem. Since fleeing to Israel in 2019, Zeran has lived comfortably in Tel Aviv. Reports indicate that Israel is unlikely to extradite him, citing procedural errors and Mexico's support for UN inquiries to Israeli war crimes. One recent example, Bryan Singer, the director known for X-Men, who has been living in Israel and planning a comeback with several film projects. Despite ongoing allegations of sexual assault involving minors, which he denies, Singer seems to benefit from Israel's favorable conditions for Jewish immigrants. His new ventures, including a documentary on his experiences, suggest he may avoid any legal consequences. Isn't that convenient for them? Yeah, that's let me put this up there. Okay. Alchemist says, as for the missing children, there needs to be a billboard of awareness of the child pedophilia with flashing lights. has to be brought up everywhere. I know most people in America, you talk to them about it and they say, oh, I don't believe that. That's exaggerated. I don't believe that. That's not true. Hello? Wake the F up. It is true. Jeez, it's just really maddening. What was that last thing? Over 700,000 Israeli settlers reside in these areas occupying Palestine land and 150 government-supported settlements, which are deemed illegal under international law. Government funding also extends to unauthorized outposts, allowing convicted offenders to live with minimal interference. And this is just unbelievable that this continues to go on and we haven't stopped it yet. Okay? It's in the process, but there's a long ways to go. And one of the biggest hurdles here in the United States is getting people to even believe it. I mean, it's your responsibility as a citizen or as a concerned man or woman to get people to talk about this, to get people to plant seeds, if nothing else. People are waking up at a much faster rate than they were, but there's still a long ways to go. They keep wanting to deny things that are really going on. Okay, here's another little comment by Wide Awake. I'm fed up with aborted fetuses being cut up and put in our food. I am too. Why aren't these people arrested? Making cannibals out of us unknowingly to us. Against God's law, the only reason abortion is kept legal is for profit, and the FDA allows it. And I agree, Wide Awake. It's just disgusting. Okay, let's see what else we got here. I'm sorry, I'm reading some of your thing. Yep, and it's true. That's true too. Our children, born and unborn, are currency to these evildoers. They're not human. That's where are their hybrids. We have both, because the minions of these guys, I think they're hybrids, and they also have. People don't want to admit it, but we have shapeshifters that were here. They claim that most, if not all, have been removed, but we're still having some problems with the minions. But they're being rounded up too, as I understand it. Anyway, government funding also extends to unauthorized outposts, allowing convicted offenders to live with minimal interference. I've been told that happens right here in the United States. Like I said, people in prison and jails, the ones that are the sex offenders, actually get treated better than the other inmates. Big investigations need to go on there. Everything was based on fraud, and then all these illegal immigrants or migrants. I don't even want to call them invaders. Come into this country, commit crimes, and are just let go just like that. They don't even do that to American citizens. Do you know that they actually have been told to convict the real Americans and let these other guys go? There's information to that effect too. I can't cite it right now, but I know I've read it. So it's very concerning. Bring back public, what is this? Bring back public evacuations when there is. Do you mean evacuations when there's no question that the person is? What do you mean evacuate? Bring back public. You mean executions? You might. Yes, I agree. New York, they are definitely invaders. They're, this was a place where you could come as an immigrant but they didn't come in the millions. They never came in the millions. That's not immigration. That's invasion. And it was orchestrated by people that claim to be our leaders, and they weren't. They were traitors, is what they were. And these traitors need to be rounded up, and it might come down to having being the people doing it. Because the court system is so corrupt, the bar attorneys are so corrupt. They're just like the medical doctors that push in the COVID. The only problem is they have basically created the judicial system, the codes and color of law and all that crap. And I agree. This is so true. What George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. The ultra rich have lost their minds. They are. They're total psychopaths, and crazy people don't know they're crazy. That's a problem. But anyway, it's so true. Um, okay, and yeah, and here somebody's bringing up the iodine thing. We're being microwaved on a regular basis. I've seen pictures of that, and I've got my Telegram channel running because I post a lot of really good stuff on there that I can't. I try to post it on Facebook. Sometimes it goes up and then it gets taken down, but sometimes they won't let me post it at all. So um, that is a problem. Alchemist, are you okay? Maybe you meant executions, not what you're saying. Okay. Okay. The number of sex offenders. This is back to the article by the doctor. Why do I keep forgetting his name? NESARA. The number of sex offenders in Israeli prisons has increased from 350 in 1997 to 1,300 in 2009, reflecting greater public and law enforcement awareness. In response to rising concern over sex offenses against children, the Israeli parliament enacted a 2006 law for community protection from sex offenders. The law is supposed to assess risk and impose supervisory measures based on the offender's danger level. However, it's deeply concerning that 1/3 of prisoners convicted of sexual offenses have declined to participate in mandatory rehabilitation programs, and 75% were released early, not serving their full sentence. See, there's where you get that special treatment again. Not only are they treated special inside, they're also treated special outside. Anyone else, depending on any number of things, would not be given this much leniency. And how is that fair to the children? It's not fair to the children at all. Okay. Additionally, nearly 90% of sexual offense cases involving Israeli army officers were initially opened but subsequently closed without charges. Isn't that interesting? To align with global standards, the government must implement specific legislation targeting pedophiles, enhance online protection against exploitation, and improve systems for rehabilitating offenders. I think our American public is going to be shocked and appalled when they find out how many of our politicians are involved in pedophilia and how these pedophile rings were actually run right under our nose, right under the White House, of all places. And here we go. The Tim Potter, I'm going to put that up because it's true. Muslim invaders are raping girls, boys, women, and men, and any patriot is getting arrested. And we new Islamophobia law, the country is ready to explode. Don't know if I read that exactly correctly. But they're arresting the patriots and letting, it's just really wrong. Anyway, these bottom line, let's go to the bottom line. I'm going to skip some of this article because it's awfully long. But the bottom line that Dr. NESARA talks about is the issue of pedophilia and legal failures in Israel has been highlighted by various reports and cases, particularly concerning the exploitation of the law of return, which grants automatic citizenship to Jewish individuals and their families. This has allowed some accused pedophiles, primarily from the United States, to flee to Israel to evade justice. So, guess how many of our politicians in Congress have dual citizenship? Now, why do they have dual citizenship? Is that because if they get targeted in a pedophile case, they're going to run to Israel to get away with it? You have to wonder about that one. Organizations like the Jewish Community Watch have tracked over 60 such cases since 2014, though the actual number is more than likely much higher due to the limited resources to be able to investigate. Just like notable, the Leafer guy, or gal, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, the former principal at the Jewish school in Melbourne who fled to Israel in 2008 after allegations of sexually abusing over 70 students. Now, why are people like that allowed to get away with it? It's disgusting. Oh, we have a new law about Islamophobia. Islamophobia. Well, and I had somebody say to me, well, Satanism, we have freedom of religion. We don't have freedom of religion, of a religion that agrees to and says pedophilia is normal and it's okay to kill children and drink their blood and eat their bodies. I mean, that's not okay. Is that okay with you? It's not okay with me. Sorry, this whole subject just really makes me angry because it's pushed aside as though it's not really that important. It's not that big of a deal. It's just, a little uh, diddling with children. Bullshit. That's disgusting. That is the most horrific thing. We need to protect our children, and this needs to stop totally. And people need to wake the heck up about it. That's the part that's really disturbing. People that refuse to wake up about this. Okay, let me see. Wow. This is the same parts in the same article. I'm just looking for a little bit more that might be of interest to them. The Matzof Association, that's MATZOF, estimates tens of thousands of pedophiles operate in Israel annually, impacting around 100,000 victims. Now, you know how small Israel is compared to our country? And yet we're sending them money. They get free health care from us. They get just about whatever they want. Why is that? Is that because our Congress people are dual citizens and they're going to make sure that they take care of Israel so that when they are discovered to be in this pedophilia ring, that they can run to Israel and get away with it? You have to wonder. So anyway, in July 2020, 22 cases were reported in the media alone. You know how many were not put in the media. Israel has ratified international protocols such as the optional protocol on the sale of children, 2008. But critics argue that enforcement and international cooperation remain inadequate. That's because they put these laws out there because they're stink-raced about it, and then they don't really do anything. It's just, what do you want to call it? Window dressing. That's the word for it. That's all it is. It's just window dressing to make it look good like they're actually doing it, something when in fact they are not. Recent posts on X have claimed the existence of a large-scale pedophile ring involving Israeli political, police, and business leaders, citing survivor testimonies and media reports. However, these claims lack verifiable evidence from credible sources and should be treated with skepticism. Efforts to it. We already got enough skepticism. Most people don't even want to believe that this is actually happening, and it is. Okay. Efforts to address the issue include a 2019 court order blocking access to 1,700 pedophilia websites and a 2025 police sting arresting 28 subjects. I'm sure there's a lot more than that. I'm going to go to that. Okay. Yeah, Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot. Hey, people are having more sightings of Bigfoot while you're ISIS is ISIS, Ra is Rael, God equals God. Well, I wonder where the Israel got its name. Yeah, good question. Anyway, how Other activists call for stricter background checks, faster extradition process, and better protection for children, including the Palestinian territory. I can't believe what they're doing to the Palestinians. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And anyone that supports it, how can somebody say that they're a Christian and support the genocide that's been going on in Gaza and actually think it's okay for our government to send money over there? I don't approve. I do not consent at all. And people need to start speaking up about that kind of thing. Okay. President Trump drops a hint Jeffrey Epstein is still alive and living in Israel. The guy who never dies. Is that a hint? Did he really mean that? Interesting. Yeah, he got to escape to Israel, just like we were talking about. Oh my God. Ukraine exporting thousands. I can't prove any of this, so think what you may. Ukraine exporting thousands of children to the brothels of Belgium, Israel, Britain, and the U.S. So that's why they want to send money to Ukraine. That's why they want to keep Ukraine going, because they have this insatiable sexual appetite for children. Not to mention all the horrors that they do and the stuff that I probably shouldn't say. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Russia intercepts Israeli jet trafficking adrenochrome victims to Hollywood. It's just endless. And Russia is on the side of the children. Okay, that's why you need to really watch being that critical of Russia, because they're doing more, in my opinion, in so many ways than our country. Yeah, New York, you're right about that too. The illegals get free health care too. While they wiped out my savings of 40 grand, and I owe another 30 grand for my wife, and she passed on. Hospitals are worse than the mafia. Yes, they are. And they're also killing machines at this point in time. I wouldn't trust them. You'd have to be right there and be an advocate for anyone who goes in there now because of the things that they have done. It's just endless, isn't it? Okay, There's another article by Joe Tuzara. He writes some good stuff. You might want to look him up. President Trump's deep state mass purge begins. Supreme Court approves plan to terminate thousands of globalist operatives in government. Well, that should be interesting. Bring it on. Okay. The DOJ order a weaponized cleanse of globalist control. President Trump's executive order 14210 isn't some bureaucratic reshuffle. This is a controlled demolition of the real enemy, the cabal of unelected, untouchable federal operatives embedded in agencies from the IRS to the State Department. Again, this is information from Dr. Joe Tuzara. Okay. The Supreme Court has just opened the gates of war, and this time it's not just against bloated federal bureaucracy. It's a full frontal assault on the shadow government, the embedded and elite infrastructure that has choked America from the inside for decades. You know, our tax dollars have not even been used to help the infrastructure of our own country. We've been funding and sending money to all the other countries on the planet at the expense of the American people, and they don't even take care of us here. And they treat you like a POS here when you act for aid, yet they give it away free to people that never worked a day in their life here. It's just really disgusting. Donald Trump officially gained clearance to carry out the most aggressive purge of globalist influence in U.S. government history. They tried to stop him. They used judges, dark money networks, puppet bureaucrats, and activist union fronts to halt Executive Order 14210, the DOJ order, but it failed. We have infinite creator on our side. Just be aware of that. Many benevolent ETs, which I know some people don't believe in because of religion, and cover up by the government, but they do exist. The Supreme Court couldn't just stay a lower court ruling. They declared war on deep infiltration of the administrative state, the same machine that has been weaponized for years against free Americans. Okay. The DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency Workforce Optimization Initiative, mandates that for every 4 government employees who leave, only 1 can be hired. The order targets any office not mandated by law, which means the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, tools of cultural subversion, are on the chopping block. And that goes for DEI initiatives, were never about equity. They were psychological conditioning programs designed to destroy meritocracy and install race-based ideology, foot soldiers loyal not to America, but to the agenda of the late Klaus Schwab, George Soros, and the international think tank apparatus. The globalist infrastructure is trembling. The reason the American Federation of Government Employees and other unions sprinted to file lawsuits, because they know what's coming. These unions were hijacked long ago by the globalists to protect embedded agents who answered not to American law, but to foreign NGOs. Now, they keep talking about NGOs, non-government organizations. They need to start naming names of these NGOs so people know what NGO they're talking about. Because right now it's like a mask. It's like an umbrella. It's covering up who they are. Is it the Red Cross? Maybe. Is it, any number of different private organizations masquerading as one of our government, just like the Federal Reserve. That was never government. That's always been a private organization, and it has financially raped American people since it began. And I'm glad to see it's being dismantled piece by piece. Okay. These foreign NGOs, they're actually owned by foreigners. They're not even American. How do you like that? The World Economic Forum, the Transnational Intelligence Network, operating under the banner of public policy, just like everything. Those injections are safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. That is how they manage to get us confused and misdirected about things. They come out with these slogans or whatever they are, and sorry about that. And they just push that illusion. So let me see what else we got going on here. Public policy. It's not public policy. It's not safe and effective. It never was safe and effective. They never even did any studies of vax versus unvax. They never did any studies. Even the childhood schedules, there's never any studies on that. People just accept it because of the bullcrap propaganda put out there. We really need to start thinking for ourselves and really be critical about some of these things, critical thinking. And this is where they're saying common sense has been lost. It's even more than common sense sometimes, I think. So anyway, moving right along. So, again, this is still another article. I'm just picking out bits and pieces from Dr. Joe Tuzaro. This is still his work. The Supreme Court made it clear President Trump's order is lawful. The court, in a stunning rebuke of decades of judicial activism, confirmed that President Trump holds the constitutional authority to restructure and purge the federal system, especially when it's infested with enemies of the republic. And it is infested with enemies of the republic. Even Justice Sotomayor, Sotomayor, and Justice Jackson couldn't deny it. Their cautious wording is a smokescreen. The damage is done. The Doge order moves forward full throttle. Who's really being fired? Behind every government employee being removed is a deeper story. These aren't just nameless bureaucrats. Many are contracted analysts, former CIA handlers, FBI desk agents, and State Department operatives who played key roles in leaking classified intel during President Trump's first term, manipulating foreign aid to fund third-party regime change-ups, facilitating big tech's censorship architecture via backdoor data access, shielding child trafficking rings under the guise of foreign humanitarian missions, running psychological operations on American soil through fake think tanks and academic programs. Now the purge begins. The Doge Team Strategic Counterinsurgency. Each agency will now receive a Doge Team lead, a figure with full authority to block things, oversee internet staffing decisions, and impose database restructuring protocols. And this is where you got to be really careful who's put in those positions, because you can always get somebody in a position like that who isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah, this is so true, yeah. Oh, let me bring these up. See, I love it that the audience is so as awake as it is. Thank you, Tennessee. Top 3 NGOs: BRAC, headquarters Dhaka, Bangladesh; International Save the Children headquarters London, UK; Doctors Without Borders headquarters France. And these guys are all involved in the pedophilia. Oh my God, it's just unbelievable. You think they're good, they're not. Okay. Then we have Wide Awake is saying, if Tell Live Vision says it, people fall for it. It's time the truth comes out of the TV. More people would wake up. That is so true. And I think I have some information that I'll get to that appears to be happening in that regard. So there's some lawsuits that have been filed, and I believe that Trump removed the propaganda law that was put into place by Mr. Obama, who said that it was okay to run propaganda against the American people without consequences. So we need to think that. We need to really think that one up. Let me see. Mary Finney, what are you saying? So anyone who thinks it's not known if they look at porn, pay for it, child porn, and so on, you are and have been tracked from the beginning. Your credit cards, your internet, all is known. Well, is it really? All right. All right, I'll put that up there, Tim Powder. Christ is King, and Christ is returning in Christ consciousness within our own heart. That's what matters. And when everybody does that, that's when we'll come together and with unity consciousness, and we will become extremely powerful people. The elite's collapse is accelerating. The decision doesn't stand alone. Just last month, a coordinated media blackout attempted to cover up the Supreme Court's ruling in Trump versus Gaza, where they struck down the ability of judges to issue nationwide injunctions, the very tool the deep state relied on to paralyze President Trump's first term. Well, finally, they did something about that, at least. President Trump has solidified a Constitution firewall against weaponized lawfare, and this latest ruling, the purge of the illegal administrative state, is legally locked in. President Trump's quiet alliance with gold-backed trade systems is shaking the foundation of the petrodollar, and that's exactly what we want. Oh, this is interesting too. Gosh, I probably should stop this. It's getting a little bit long. But Whiteheads say the White House has been infiltrated. Right now, again, this is another article by this Dr. Joe Tuzara. Right now, we're casual observers to the DOJ Epstein mess, nothing more. And if that changes, great. If not, we watch and listen. There's at least one traitor around POTUS, without a doubt. President Donald Trump doubled down on his support for embattled Attorney General Pam Bondi in a social media post that criticized the MAGA movement for insistently demanding the release of the Epstein files. They're going to come back. That's going to circle back around because they're not going to get away with hiding it, as is the case right now. Oh my goodness, I can't believe he said this. In the same article, Patel on social media last unambiguously denied that the confrontation took place and simultaneously asserted that conspiracy theories just aren't true, never have been. Now that's a lie. No, that's just, I just lost respect for him. If that's what he really did say, I'm gonna have to look into that some more. But Bongino and Patel had a blowout with Bondi and Susie Wiles over handling of the Epstein files that culminated in Bongino taking a day off and threatening to resign. Well, I don't blame him. Real Raw News has been unable to independently verify the truth because the West Wing and DOJ sources have gone silent this week, possibly fearing polygraph exams. Well, maybe that's what's needed. Wow. Okay. Remember Bill Barr? I have information that he was hung at Gitmo August 2nd, 2021. Charges of treason, seditious conspiracy, advocating the overthrow of the government. I remember talking about him a long time ago on Drake's show, saying that I thought he was guilty of sin at that time. Apparently, been proven. Okay. Let me see what else. Oh my goodness. I already have posted this one thing on my Telegram channel and on my Facebook page. There's huge events coming this year. Epstein will come back later. Trump is going after the Bank for International Settlements, the world's biggest laundering system that is creating all wars in the world. These ops are huge and massive because it's leading towards super advanced technologies that humans can't even fathom. The real idea behind USSF, behind Musk, behind Trump, the real idea of the 17 operations is this frickin' golden era. That's just going to shock the world. So many jobs are going to be created, so much wealth for humans to have, ending full taxes, ending how humans work 40 hours a week. Heck, most Americans work more than 40 hours a week. Okay? They want to end everything like that and give freedom to the whole world. This advanced tech can do miraculous things in the medical field. They can cure people. Not everything is as it seems. Buckle up, buttercups. Now, all these countries that now, I think I read recently, over 10 countries are saying that as an American, you can't come there. And we've been funding all of these countries. Our taxpayer money has been funding these countries because of our corrupt government. We didn't do anything for the American people or the American infrastructure, but did everything for these foreign countries to be able to keep their pedophile rings going and strong. Okay. Let me see. Why is Ukraine key? There's illegal pathogen labs funded by Soros, Democrats, DOD, and DARPA, with data and help from Fauci's aid, that U.S. aid. Oh my God. Girl strike server taken to Ukraine to hide proof of the DNC and Hillary HFA crimes. Americans' corrupt political families have been paying themselves with your tax dollars washed through Ukraine since 2008. This is why they're trying to keep Ukraine up and running. That's where they get all their political money from. And oh God. And when it comes to the babies, they got price tags on the different body parts. I didn't get a chance to put up the picture, but believe me, it's disgusting. Okay. The reason every single warmonger in the U.S. government needs Ukraine to win when Ukraine loses, so do they and their entire worldwide network. Where is the Rothschild central banking ledger for the world? What is the black market junction in Europe for adrenochrome, organ harvesting, and bio-waste trade? Who is implicated? Ukraine. They never thought she would lose. Sorry. I guess I should have shut this off. Anyway, let's see what else I got here. They say that our government is saying there will be no mercy given for all those that brought harm to children. Good. That's the way it should be. Even Christ himself said they should have, a stone around their neck and be thrown in the ocean. Okay, Russian pedo hunters. They're actually helping so much. You have to realize that. This is true. Russ Kaiser, our funding didn't help people in other countries. It was funneled back to those meeting the gallows now. And good, that's where they belong, in the gallows, that's for sure. That's the way it always is. Okay. Okay. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot just verified. The propaganda law that Obama signed that allows propaganda to be used on American has not been removed by Trump. It's called the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012. Are you sure it has not been removed? I was under the impression it had been removed, so I have to look into that in greater detail. Okay. I'm just going to read a few more things that from this Mr. Poole. He's on Telegram too, and he's talking about some of the things that have been going on. President Trump activated the final stage of global military missions that were taking down the Satan-worshipping, child-sacrificing deep state cabal. Trump initiated the global currency reset, which, along with close of the Federal Reserve and IRS, takes away deep state money and supply. The EBS is imminent. They've been saying that so many times. I'm just going, yeah, right, okay, I believe that when it happens. Anyway, and Julian Assange unveiled a bombshell in 2017 on Fox News Hannity, alleging that the WikiLeaks had hard proof that former President Barack Hussein Obama, along with his sidekick Joe Biden, operated and participated in a pedophile ring based in the White House. On New Year's Day 2021, and a few weeks later, listen to this, okay? On New Year's Day 2021, and a few weeks before the Biden fake presidential inauguration that was partially filmed on the Hollywood movie set, Delta forces, under the direction of President Trump, raided Joe Biden's 200-acre property in Ukraine. The military found a maze of underground chambers and tunnels that ran for miles in every direction. Bits of necrotic flesh hung from ankle and wrist shackles bolted to the walls. Seized laptops were said full of evidence of Biden's massive international money laundering, gun and drug running, and child human trafficking scheme that appeared connected to other high, powerful elites. The Satan-worshipping Jeffrey Epstein of Hollywood, P. Diddy, was exposed by his daughter, Allie Carter. Allie was a survivor of pedophilia and human trafficking. She dropped a bombshell. There's an entire network of tunnels that spans across the United States, connecting cities like beneath the White House in Washington, D.C., and Disney World in Florida. These tunnels, Carter claims, were being used to traffic humans, mainly children. Okay, that was... This was the child sex rings and blackmail at the highest levels of government. Evidently, after World War II, U.S. President George H.W. Bush helped bring the Nazi mind control experts into the U.S. and using what was to become the CIA orchestrated child sex ring to blackmail Congress and top officials. It was named Operation Brownstone and Operation Brown Star. So if you want to look either one of those up and get more information on it, if you can find it now. Well, sometimes these things are exposed. It gets to be really hard to find them because they start to bury it and change names and all kinds of stuff. So, a secret U.S. military operation trained for over a year on how to rescue what became millions of horrifically abused children from the extensive network of underground dumb tunnels that run across the U.S., Canada, Mexico, South America, and then across the world. Recent operations centered beneath major cities in New York, California, Florida, Washington, D.C., and Disney World in Florida. The vast child rescue missions across the globe were headed by President Trump and the Global Military Alliance. The alliance included the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, U.S. Special Forces, and Marines in cooperation with Interpol and various nations' special military forces. The missions performed arrests of pedophile perpetrators and destruction of underground tunnels and bases through bombs that caused minor earthquakes. Many of these earthquakes that you hear about were the result of the dumb bases underground being first usually flooded and then bombed and destroyed. So in October of 2019, Marines, Navy SEALs, and Special Forces rescued over 2,100 caged babies and children beneath China Lake Navy facility in California. The children and teens were said to have been sexually abused, tortured, and killed to collect you know what. The war of good against evil is ongoing. Now, just as an example of how bad things are here in America, I already mentioned the number of children that go missing, but in Spain, 20,000 go missing per year. In Australia, 25,000 go missing per year. In France, 39,000 go missing per year. In Brazil, 40,000 go missing per year. In Mexico, 45,000 go missing per year. In Canada, 50,000 go missing per year. In Germany, 100,000 go missing per year. In the United Kingdom, 230,000 go missing per year. In the United States alone, 800,000 go missing every year. Wow, that is big. The pedophile oligarchs United Nations Club of Rome whistleblower confirms the oligarchs control all the systems of pedophilia in the world. 8 million children disappear every year. The UN, the WEF, the World Economic Forum, presidents and prime ministers are under their control, except for President Trump. President Trump was an accident. The oligarchs did not expect him to win, and yes, they make mistakes, and Trump was a mistake that they will never let happen again. Well, hopefully they're not going to be in a position to do anything about anything again. Billionaire whistleblower who worked for them for 50 years confirms this in the first video of this thread. Watch all 3 videos. I should find that for you and put it in the description when I find it. The oligarchs known as the Committee of 300. Surely you've heard of that before. The United Nations 2030 agenda is the same as the Davos World Economic Forum agenda. These NGOs, non-government organizations, are both involved in global child sex trafficking, along with the CIA, which is a major tool for corruption. Presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. exposed this in great deal. You can find his videos. More than 8 million children every year, again, is comparable to the entire population of Austria. They disappear without any information. We must fight for our children. We must protect them. It's our God-given duty. I can't believe all of this has gone on. And sometimes when I would tell people, oh, that's not happening. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. And that was written by the very people that are covering this all up. that are participating in this, and yet people believe them. I guess they're all NPCs. uh, it's horrible, but it's got to stop. We're not going to have a species anymore if we don't do something about it. Okay, and this is just some tidbit information here too. Jews began to call themselves Hebrews and Israelites in 1860. Edom is modern Jewry. That's Jewry. Strictly speaking, it is incorrect to call an ancient Israelite a Jew, or to call a contemporary Jew an Israelite or Hebrew. Bear that in mind. Okay, West Bank Jewish settlers beat an American Palestinian man to death. The settlers attacked Christian Tom. That kind of thing has been going on lately too. Israel is the only country in the world with a 3,000-year history that began in 1948. This was when the Rothschilds, in collaboration with the British Crown, founded the State of Israel. They manipulated Jews into believing they were founding Zion in Israel. But in reality, they were establishing the deep state's headquarters for the child trafficking ring. The current leaders of Israel are described as fake Jews from the Khazarian mafia, direct descendants of Cain, who allegedly commit pedophilia crimes against Israelis and practice child sacrifice. And now they're trying to say it's Satanism is freedom of religion. I don't think so. That is a killing machine. You cannot have or allow a religion or give freedom to somebody who thinks it's okay to kill children. Anyway, I tell you, that's a lot to digest. And again, this is for entertainment purposes only. So please don't take this down, any of you channels out there or platforms out there. Yeah, there's big trafficking under all the airports on the shore. Yep, that's absolutely true too. Anyway, thank you for listening. Please do your part in informing others or getting them to think about it. Because sometimes if you just plant seeds, people are waking up. The frequency of the planet is going up, and as it rises higher and higher, more and more people wake up. The hardest ones to wake up are the NPCs. They're a real trip, but we'll see what happens in that regard. And I also encourage you to go to my Telegram channel in particular. I also have a Facebook platform, and I post quite a bit of good stuff there, but I can't post as much good stuff as I can on Telegram. So please check out my Telegram channel. If you're able to support my channel, it would be greatly appreciated. I'm just barely getting by, which is why I haven't had as many shows lately. But anyway, if you can, that's always appreciated. And thank you very much for those of you that do. I hope this was helpful. And I'm planning on doing another video on, just a short video on Sophia, the divine feminine aspect of creator, the infinite creator. So look forward to that. And tomorrow, of course, late evening, I will be doing a show with Jenny Lee, and we'll see what she's got to tell us. And thank you everyone for participating. I really appreciate some of the things that you say in the chat, because some of you have found things that I haven't found yet, and it's a working together group. So that's a wonderful thing, and I love it, and thank you. And be watching for another show, possibly later today, on about Sophia. That'll only be about 10 or 15 minutes at the most. And then another one tomorrow with Jenny Lee, which is always interesting and fun. So thank you, everyone, and I'll see you again very soon. Much love. Remember, live the way You want to be remembered. We want harmony in our life, we want peace in our souls, and we want love in our hearts. And that's what can make the difference in this world. That's what's been missing. So, much love to you all. Thank you.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now, don't look back now. Rise up, stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, fighting our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize the moment. Hold on tight and don't let go of all your hopes and dreams that light the way. We control our fate. Destiny